Hello, everybody in geometry. Oh yeah, baby. It's Tom Sawyer welcoming you to today's geometry lesson, baby. Woo! Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Today we're going to learn about circle circumference and arc length. Woo! All right, thanks, Getty. Okay, today we are going to learn about, this is 10.6 de deux, which is French for two. Okay, two is French for you. So this is a lesson for you. Get it? French humor. Okay, we're going to learn about circumference of a circle. This is a little bit wobbly. We're going to go with it, though. Oh, sorry. A little bit wobbly. It's going to be okay, though. And we're going to learn about arc length and how to find the arc length of portion of a circle. So let's pretend you have a circle here, and here's a radius. Well, you know the circumference of a circle is just 2 pi r. And we've known this before. So let's say I've got circumference is the distance all the way around. So if I were to say to you, hey, Andrew, give me that calculator real quick. Hey, how do I find the circumference of a circle of like radius like 3? I'd be like, oh, well, the circumference is 2 pi 3 or 6 pi. So the distance all the way around this circle is actually 6 pi, which is kind of cool. Thank you. So what we're going to do is talk about what that means. And you say, well, 6 pi, what if I need to have some like tubing to go around my circular garden bed? And I'm going to go down to the Home Depot and I'm going to say, hey, give me 6 pi feet of fencing material. Or they're going to be like, what the heck are you talking about, boy? You'd be like, no. So you go, 6 pi, well, 6 pi is going to be a little more than 18, of course. Ooh, 18.84, so approximately 18.8495. Ooh, and that rounds to 18.850 feet. You go down to Home Depot and you say, hey, I want about 19 feet of rubber whatevering to go around my garden bed. They'll be like, sure, which is kind of cool. So I could also say, hey, let's pretend that we've got this. We got this automobile here, okay, and this automobile is driving this direction, okay, beep 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 beep, and it's like, ooh, this tire has a radius of like 1 foot. All right. Well, if a circle has a radius of 1 foot, we could say, well, how far did this car go if the tire spun like 17 times? And it's like, oh, that's very interesting. Well, the circumference of this circle is 2 pi r, which this time is 1, and that's just 2 pi. And there's a little bit of an interesting visual here because 2 pi is approximately 6.28. That means that there's actually about 6.28 of these going around. We'll talk about this when we talk about radians, but this distance here is there's about 1 of them, and about 2 of them, and about 3 of them, and there's pi of them right there at half. You'll learn that next year. And 4 of them, and about 5 of them, and about 6 and a quarter of them. Sorry, I was a little off right there. But 6.28. So if we have 6.28 feet for one time around that circle, but then we say, oh, I went 17 times around. Well, excuse me, 2 pi times the 17 times around. If I had like a little like boop and it went around 17 times, the wheel, of course, the wheel, if it goes around, it's like do, and that entire thing, the length of that circle will lay out on the ground. And we have this 6.28 times 17. We have 100. It would be 106.814 feet. You're like, that's pretty cool. You're like, well, how many feet is that? Many like yards or whatever is that? Well, I guess we could go divide that by how many yards are in a foot. How many feet are in a yard? That's right, 3. So I'm going to divide that by 3, and we went about 35 yards, which is about the distance of a field goal, 35-yard field goal. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So if I just say find the circumference or find the distance around, or even I can say find the perimeter of a circle, we would just say 2 pi times whatever the radius is. Now, what if they do something silly and interesting, like, hey, here's the diameter of a circle. Diameter circle is 10. Find the circumference of this circle with diameter 10. No biggie, no biggie. Of course it's no biggie. Because if the diameter is 10, the radius, of course, is 5. And then, because it's half, then you just go 2 pi r. And we have 10 pi. In fact, this is interesting because some people don't memorize circumference as 2 pi r. They memorize it as pi d. Anybody out there learn it as pi d? Sure. And the cool thing about this is you can just use the commutative property, say that 10 times fast, the commutative property, and rewrite 2 pi r as pi times 2r, because like you can rearrange the order of multiplication and it's still the same. And since 2r from way up, where was that? Oh, I guess we never talked about that today. That must have been a different day. So since 2r is d, then we just replace the 2r with the d, and we say it's pi times diameter, which is cool. But the bulk of today's lesson is about something a little bit different. It's portions of circles. Now, this is where we really got to start thinking. Okay, so let's say somebody's got a circle, and they say to you, hey, I've got a radius of 4, but this angle right here is only 60 degrees. I want you to find out the length of arc AB. And you're like, what? Length of arc AB? But that's not the, isn't that a portion of the circumference? Heck yeah, it is, baby. So all you gotta do is figure out how much of the circle this is. You're like, whoa. So let's build this for a second. So if I had a circle, and I said, how big is the circumference? Say 2 pi r. But if I had another circle and I said, hey, I want to find the length of this, I choose you. I want to find the length of this arc right here, like the semicircle arc. And you say, oh, well, that's just 2 pi r divided by 2. Let's pretend this is radius 4. The circumference of this guy would be 2 pi 4, 8 pi. Circumference of this guy would be 2 pi r, but oh no, it's only half of it. So I've got to, for some reason, I got to figure out what this half comes from. And it seems to me this half would come from whatever my degree is divided by 360, because that's the portion of the entire circle, right? 1/2, 1/83/60. So if I said, oh, what's 1/2 of 2 pi r? Half of 8 pi is just 4 pi. So the length of this, and whatever the decimal approximation for that is, of course, that would be that. If I said, hey, find the length of this arc, this shaded arc right here, you guessed it, 1/4 of it, because 93/60 is 1/4. So the generic formula goes like this. If you want to find arc length of AB, shaky camera, if you want to find the arc length of AB, and you know your central angle is x, okay? X degrees. You're just going to go, well, whatever x is divided by 360 times 2 pi r. And that is how you find arc length, my friends. And this is a formula that is wonderful. You want to stick it in the ground and grow some grass around it, because that formula is going to save your life. So here's how we do this. So, buddy, how much of it is this? How much of it is this? Well, don't think too hard, because 63/60 would be 1/6 of the whole entire circle, of course. So I've got 1/6 of it, which is great. And all I'm going to do is go 1/6 of 2 pi r, and 8 pi over 6, or 4 pi over 3. And there's my exact answer in terms of pi. Or I could use my calculator, my Calcusooner, or my calculator, and go, what is 4 pi divided by 3? And it will be about 4.188, 4.189. Okay, which is fine. One more. So let's say we have a circle. Let's make it bigger. Let's have a circle of radius like 7. And this very interesting looking angle right here is like 19 degrees. We're like, how much is the circumference of that? Or of course of that, then we could just subtract it. So what I'm going to do is just go, let my calculator do the work. 19, my arc length is 19 3/60ths, the portion of the whole circle, times 2 pi r. And I'm just going to let my calculator do the work here, because I'm going to go 19 times 14, which is 266 pi over 360. And if you have a fraction button or some way to reduce fractions, you can do this by hand, of course. But 266 3/60ths, math number 1, math fracket, 133 1/80th. So we have an arc length of 133 1/80ths of pi. But you're like, well, I want to know what that is. So multiply it by pi, and it's 2.321. And that's it. That's it. That's it. And you say, well, that's kind of interesting because the circumference is 14 pi of the whole thing. And that's a lot bigger than, well, of course it's a lot bigger because this is only 19 3/60ths of it. So lots of good things. Just find your arc length, find your angle. How much of 360 is it? Multiply it by 2 pi r, and that will be all you need to get your way through this cute little worksheet we've got right here. Find the circumference, find the shape, find the darkened arc, and then some questions about motorcycles. Okay, lots of good stuff. So I hope you enjoy this. Yeah, arc length, circumference, wonderful stuff. Go do that homework, get your 10 points. Thanks, everybody.